over. Is that too much clickbait? No, it's not clickbait. It really is over. It's finally over. In this episode, I've finally finished off the worst part of the tray section. It's finally done. Super looking forward to getting that done. And yes, I have recorded this intro once again after I've done all the work, because I don't want to lie to you guys. And I can finally say, this episode is the last one in the series for the XA bodywork. That means it's finally done. At the end of the next episode, which will be part 2 of this is part 1 of that finale, but it's already a 2-part finale. I think we're up to part 1.8 and 9, which I think that makes this part 2 of the 2-part finale, but this is just chapter 1 of part 2 of the 2-part finale. Right, we're finally in the second, there's chapter, I'll get it done when I get it done. Alright, however many episodes, but we're cruising on through, smashing out a whole heap of stuff. At the end of the last episode, you would have seen me welding on a part of the tray that I was quite confident went there. It did not. Bit of messing around. We get there. We're gonna get the passenger side of the tray all sorted out and the driver's side of the tray. So without any further ado, let's crack on into it.
And to kick things off, I got distracted and started doing the stone guard for the fuel cell. So I'm gonna have a bit of 1mm thick plate that'll bend around the contour of the frame, which of course is 2 45-degree bends. It can't just be a simple 90-degree bend because the way that I did it. And without a pan brake, that makes bending it very hard. So there was quite a bit of messing around to get those 245s and not look like total arse. Next, to distract from those arse-looking bends, I decided to put some dimple dies in some random spots because for strength, I guess, and mainly to look cool. But then I realized I dimple dyed from the wrong side, and you'll only really be able to appreciate these when there's no fuel cell in there, which will be never. So only you and me can appreciate them right now, and then they'll be covered up forever. Because when you look at them from underneath, you'll just see the underside of the dimple dyes, and it just won't look as good. But that's besides the point. It's in there now, it's done. And it looks kind of cool for the time that I'm building the car.
Right, fuel tank guard is done. Did I need to do it? No, I most certainly didn't. I didn't need to dimple dye it. I could have just put plate there and been done with it 2 hours ago. But, I mean, it kind of looks cool, doesn't it? So that's enough for me. Coolness. I really should have been working on this and continuing that. I could have probably got that sorted this morning. But I got that done. That's something. That's a job from start to finish. That's now totally finished. So now I feel a little bit better about that. Next, it's onto this section and finally start getting this done. Let's get into it. As you saw in the previous episode, it didn't quite sit straight. So what I had to do was I've had to split the two, because having all these connected and then trying to line that up, it was almost impossible, because I'm trying to twist from that point up there essentially and get it to work. But this corner needs replacing anyways. As you can see, there's some horrible repairs that have been there previously, so I want to replace this right angle piece. Anyways, so I thought I'll cut it, I'll get this lined up and the gap between there and there spaced out properly for the tailgate. But in the meantime, I think I've got to drill out these welds that I've done previously when I was rushing to get this in, just to make it look good, because it looks like it's sitting a couple mil too far back. As you can see, there's the corner here, and this is the factory sort of corner, and this piece hasn't been disconnected. That's still attached to that, which goes all the way along there and still attaches over there. So this hasn't changed. Obviously this piece needs to move forward a couple mil, and you can see it most in that join there. That basically needs to line up. So I'm going to drill out these pools of weld that I've just done, which sucks because I really welded that on. Jammed wire in there, so I'm going to get rid of that and kind of adjust this so it more or less just lines up with this. Alright, I just accepted defeat. I cut the whole thing out and got it out of there because there was absolutely no way I was getting that right with it still in there and trying to get it all. And anyways, I'll save you the time lapse. I've already welded it together. I've done it. Put it in, it's 20 times better and easier than what I could have done with it in there. So using these 2 holes here and those 3 holes there on the old one, measuring the distance and getting the distance from the XC and making sure they were the same. I just had to fill in, there was a little bit of a gap there, so I filled that in, but managed to weld it together, keeping the distance pretty much bang on at 205 millimeters it is between those holes. So that's all sorted now. It's all straight and lines up, and I was going to say looks pretty. It definitely doesn't, but you know. But luckily for me, you'll notice there's a bolt here. I didn't realize, but on the XA piece, there's like a hole that lines up all the panels. There's 3 panels that really connect there, and that hole lines them all up. And I checked on the XG piece and the XC, and they all have it. They all have this hole that goes through about 3 panels. I used that hole. Luckily, it was only just on the XA piece. I was able to use that hole, put a bolt through it that pretty much threaded through the holes same size, and that lined it up perfectly. So that issue has been solved. I can now slap it back in.
So the biggest concern with putting this part in is that I needed to keep it 90 degrees from the chassis of the car, but I had to also make sure it was at the precise angle that the tailgate would be able to latch on and it'll all be straight and all the other measurements. So I was using those 2 top holes to take measurements from the XC and transfer them over to here and get them as close to it as possible because each hole has a bit of play. I also used the ratchet strap to keep it at 90 degrees and make sure it stayed there whilst welding on the rest of the panels, and to ensure that it didn't bend out of the way and end up totally messing all my measurements up.
Right, so it's starting to come together now. Now to get this lower panel in, which I'll just take this clamp off, and it's going to fall down once I take this clamp off. But oh no, it's not. It's not going to fall down when I take the clamp off. It's basically a press fit. That's wedged in between there, matches up to there, matches up to there, matches up to there. It all just presses in to the exact spot, which means that is all bang on and all the measurements are right and correct, and I'm pretty bloody happy with that. I'm just leaving this tensioned up, so while everything gets buttoned up, I know for sure that's staying at 90 degrees. So I'll remove that once it's all in and welded together and all done.
This part was totally rusted out, so I needed to get rid of it because this is where the sidewall sort of connects to. So I took that out, coated all the inside and replaced it with a fresh bit of steel. And then it was on to getting the rest of this side panel prepped and ready to accept the XG part. And it all went on so perfectly. It lined up in every way possible. I also added in this filler plate here, which I'll explain in a second.
Just like that, it's all done. Super simple, super easy. Absolutely no mistakes along the way whatsoever. This matched up pretty bloody well. I mean, as you can see, the holes join sort of halfway and they actually still look like factory holes. There's no real big steps or anything like that. So pretty bloody stoked with how it all turned out. So it matched up perfectly there, all the way through there. This side piece, I had it join there, and then this piece was connected to this lower wheel guard piece in there. Just sort of did it in sections so it could all be put in the right way. I guess if you're really nitpicky, you can see a bit of a dog leg there, but that's about it. And then this filler piece, because when I originally tried to fit this side piece, I tried to cut it to the wheel arch shape, and then when it turned to shit. So I got that filler piece in there to take up the gap. That all turned out pretty well. Of course, there'll be seam sealer or body sealer that'll be put there, so you won't even see any of those gaps. I reckon it looks pretty bloody good for a bloke that has absolutely minimal idea what he's doing with a welder. It's turned out all right. So this whole side is back together. That's I can push the car from. That's solid as. That's as solid as it gets. Well, I mean, still got the lower sections to do, but the outside bodywork, that'll come last. And now it's for the easy part, which is this right-hand side here. Despite it missing a whole lot more to begin with, that means it's 10 times easier, because as you saw with that side, trying to join 2 pieces together, and all of it was like half and half, and it was an absolute nightmare to line it all up. So this is all one piece. I can access everything because the quarter panel's not there. So this will go on a whole lot easier. I don't need to cut it in sections to try and work it in. This whole thing will just go on as one piece. So this will take me a fraction of the time. That'll be done, and then the rear quarter goes on. I don't believe it myself. I don't believe it myself. We're finally there.
Congratulations, gentlemen.
We're finally making this look mildly car-y again. So no more talking, I'm gonna get straight into doing it. Let's get into doing this side, getting it all coated in the right stuff, getting it all ready to weld on and lined up. Making sure to use the trusty measuring stick to make sure it's 100% aligned and accurate. So let's get into it. Look, I'm not saying it's perfect, but it's pretty bloody close. That's just being held in there on its own accord. Just lightly, you know, just a little light bit of contact. Obviously at the top it's a bit out because, well, there's nothing holding it there, so that'll come in. And I've only tacked it onto this plate, so obviously once it's fully tacked in, it'll hold on, you're good to go. But I mean, if we go from the center there and the center here, it's pretty bloody good.
So using the trusty ratchet strap again, I made sure it was at 90 degrees before driving in some of these welds, and just making sure there would be no surprises if I welded it off the car and then tried to attach it and it wasn't lining up correctly again. So surely it has to line up perfectly now because I did it correctly, right?
Well, as you can see, this latch doesn't even fit in there. I was pretty sure on that, wasn't I? I totally welded all that in. That ain't moving. The only way to figure this out is to find the center line of the tailgate and match it up with the center line of the actual car and see which side is out.
So it turned out that the right side was a little bit out. So through some adjustment in the hinges themselves and moving them in a little bit closer, I got both the hinges on, but the tolerances are still quite tight.
Just join me on the next episode where we do a tailgate elimination and we just weld the tailgate down that way and down that way. I mean, if I'm using this thing for a ute, like I said, something's gone horribly wrong. I've got 2 other utes. If I have to put something in a tray, something's gone horribly awry. Look, I'm pretty bloody happy with the progress we've made this episode. It's starting to look both sides on pretty bloody good. I actually think I've only really tacked that plate to the chassis, so I might just grind those back and see if I can set it back a little bit, give me a little bit more room in the tailgate. I would like to have the tailgate functioning, but at the same time, there's no love lost if I just end up welding the tailgate to the actual body. So I actually think that would be cooler. Let us know what you think in the comments. Should I just weld the tailgate to the body and just make it smooth, totally smooth across? I know of one other guy that's done that here in Western Australia. This is a burnout car. I don't remember his name. It'll come to me when I'm editing this. But let me know in the comments, should I just weld it on? I think I might. Anyways, we are on the home stretch of this tray section here. So give the video a like, hit the subscribe button if you're not already subscribed. And when I say hit the subscribe button, I literally mean hit it. Punch your screen. See how that goes. Or just click it or tap the subscribe. Either way, I'm not really fast. But please give the video a like. Let me know, should I weld the tailgate on? I think I should. And I'll catch you guys in the next part where I'll tell you right now, this finally gets all welded on. The quarter panel goes on and it all goes back together. Some would say that's the finale of the finale series. And then I gotta go on to the XC because I said I'd have the XC done in like 6 months. And that was like 4 months ago. So I've got 2 months to get the XC done. That's easy. Nothing can go wrong with that. Can it?